This demonstration will offer a brief overview on how Oracle's new Visual Analyzer capabilities can bring the next level of business user self-service to Oracle's BI Cloud Service. On the home page, we have an organized set of information showing all of the artifacts that have been created in the BI Cloud Service, both reports and dashboards, as well as Visual Analyzer projects. What we'll do now is create a new project from scratch to illustrate how quickly and easily new insights can be gained with Visual Analyzer. When Visual Analyzer is launched, we are able to select the curated data that has been prepared for us by IT. In this case, sales information about a product company who focuses on cell phone cases. On the left-hand side of the screen, we can see the data that's available for analysis. A key aspect of Visual Analyzer is the level of guidance that it offers users. So instead of having to know exactly what type of chart or analysis they want, they can actually just specify the data that they're interested in, and the system will help them along the way. So for example, I can multi-select product attributes of interest, like the brand or series, or in this case, given that the products are cell phone cases, which phones they are compatible with, as well as sales revenue for these products. As I drag this information onto the screen, we see an icon appear that shows me what type of visualization I will get. In this case, a stacked bar chart that colors the sales category by the type of phone. In addition to looking at this one perspective of data, there's lots of ways that I might want to analyze this information. And with Visual Analyzer, that's very easy. All I need to do is select the additional data of interest. In this case, sales revenue by time. We'll look at sales by quarter. And I can just drag that onto the page. When I do that, I see a drop zone appear that shows me I can place this to the left of the first chart. And I also see a symbol that shows me, because one of the attributes was time oriented, in this instance we'll actually get a line chart instead of a bar chart. In addition to easily populating these charts for the users, Visual Analyzer also makes it easy to get the exact layout you want. So I can just take one of these charts and move it anywhere that I'd like on the screen. Filtering is also supported right out of the box. All of the components are connected. So if I want to look at recent sales data, all I need to do is marquee select the last few quarters of interest. And from here, I can just go and perform a drill action. So what you'll see happen is those quarters I selected are moved to the filter panel at the top of the page. All of the charts are updated based on that filter. And beneath that, I can see that we've leveraged one of the hierarchies that IT has defined for me, and the chart has moved down to the month level. In order to make this chart a bit more interesting, the next thing I'll do is add some additional product information. I want to see how my sales break down by the specific phone models that are available. And if I just double click on phone model, you'll see the system is smart. We automatically add that to the appropriate place in this new visualization on color. And now I can see these patterns being much more apparent over time. What I can see here is lots of sales going on, and then when the iPhone 6 comes out, a big spike in sales based on people's excitement on these new phones. An additional feature of Visual Analyzer that really lends to that guidance and help users see new patterns is a feature called brushing. And this will, when you select a piece of one chart, it will highlight all the correlated areas of the other visualizations on the screen. So for example, if I choose this Galaxy case model for the Defender, in the chart below, we can see that only the Galaxy phone models are actually highlighted. If I choose the iPhone version of this case, I can see in the chart below all of the iPhone models are highlighted. So again, this makes it really easy to see patterns. In this case, it was a simple pattern, but this will work across any number of attributes, and you'll see that as we go further into the demonstration. But it looks like most of my phone sales come from the iPhone. So I think I'll start by just going and analyzing those iPhone sales specifically. And I can just add that filter directly from the chart. I can say keep selected. Again, that moves the filter up to the top of the page. And now as we see in the visualization below, I no longer see those Galaxy models. So again, everything is always connected by default. Now that I've filtered down to the iPhone though, my top chart here is a little less interesting when it comes to color. So maybe I'll use some additional information to look at those patterns on this chart. So I remove color from the chart configuration, and let's say that I want to now bring in some customer information into my analysis. But maybe this isn't a data model that I'm familiar with. Maybe I'm not sure which attributes are available or where they might exist in the data model. This is where keyword search really is quite useful. So maybe I have some information on customers based on their occupation. To test that, I can just start typing in the word occupation. And when I do that, Visual Analyzer will search through all of the data models created by IT and easily allow me to see what's available. And again, if I just double click on this result, we'll automatically intelligently move that to the right area of this chart. Now we can color code my sales based on not just the brand or the series, but the occupation of the customers who bought the series. So let's quickly look and see what type of customers are buying these products. Each of these has a bit of a specialty purpose. So for example, my Defender product offers the best protection that's available. So it's one that is a bit expensive, a bit on the higher end of the market, but definitely gives people that are concerned about the safety of their phone the best protection. Below that, you can see another category of phones that we have quite a lot of sales in called the Symmetry. And this is for more fashion-oriented people, more stylistic people who want protection, but also want some interesting visuals on the phone as well. So we can see occupations like bartenders and musicians here. We also have the Resurgence phone. This is more for, as you see when we click here on the brushing, we just offer this on the iPhone 6. It's actually a battery case phone, so kind of a new category of phones. And then lastly, above that, we have the Commuter phone. This is our entry-level model, so a bit cheaper, and we can see lots of occupations on this phone. It's offered for the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. But one thing I notice is, even with the iPhone 6 coming out, I'm still doing a lot of sales in the iPhone 5. It's still a strong area for me, and I can see that people have been buying the iPhone 6. But I'm pretty sure that lots of these customers who own the iPhone 5s haven't upgraded yet. This is an opportunity for me to sell them another case, a follow-on purchase, and I think that's where the best opportunity is for me to analyze past patterns to predict my future potential for revenue and marketing campaigns and whatnot. So what I'll do now is actually go and filter down just to the iPhone 5, because that's really the product line I want to focus in on. And one way I can do that is I can just right-click on the phone model in my chart configuration, select Create Filter. That immediately pushes it to the filter panel, and I can go and just say iPhone 5 is what I'm interested in. And when I do that, note all the charts update, and note those two other brands, the Resurgence and the Commuter, go away because I didn't actually offer those brands on the iPhone 6. So again, you get the idea. Everything is connected. We try to really help guide the users to understand these patterns in the data. So now that I've started looking at some customer information, maybe there's more information that I can analyze about my customers. So I can actually go in and browse this data model here. And unfortunately, I don't really capture a lot of information from my customers when they buy a case. Just some basic things like their occupation, their name, their location, and their gender. But gender is something that might be of interest as I look at patterns and purchasing behavior. So let me start by taking gender and replacing occupation from the color standpoint with gender. So now I can see here female sales, male sales, looks like some pretty good distribution. But I'm pretty sure there are some hidden patterns in this data set if I connect the gender information to more specifics about the product. So for example, if I open up my phone case dimension here, I notice things like color. So color could be interesting. There might be some patterns there that could help me market. Again, I will double click on color. We'll automatically move that up into the trellis rows. And what trellising will do is repeat that bar chart, but for all the different colors that I have in my data set. So now we can see that coming onto the screen. And to make that a little easier, I'll actually maximize this visualization. And now we can see the different colors that we offer. I notice that some colors are only offered for specific brands. So for example, the pink color, which is mostly purchased by females, only exists on the Symmetry brand. Looks like there are additional color options for those style-conscious people that I offer on this product, but not on my Defender product, the protection product. A big pattern that really jumps out, though, is there's a lot of revenue that's been coming in from a color that's called design. So what does that mean? Let me start by filtering down on that area so I can select this row in the trellis chart. Right click and again say keep selected. That moves my filter to the top of the page. So looking at my data on the left, I notice a few additional attributes of interest, something called collection type and collection design. So now that I've filtered down to this one color, let me replace it again with something more interesting. We'll look at collection type. And here I see two main types of design patterns of these special collections. One is called designer, and the other is called MLB, Major League Baseball. To get a bit of a better sense as to what those categories mean, I'll take this collection design field and actually add it again to my trellis row. I won't replace it, but I'll augment the type with this design information. And this really helps me understand the product catalog a bit better. I can see that in this designer category, I have values like camouflage and floral pond and flower field and pink dream and what have you. So these are specialty prints on the phone case, not just solid colors. And I could see, a lot of these are a bit more attractive to the females or the fashion conscious. And again, just offered on my Symmetry phone. Beneath that, though, it looks like I carry phone cases that have the logos and colors of various baseball teams. And this is definitely an area that people are passionate about. I can actually charge a bit more of a premium for these sorts of phones. So that might be another area that's useful for me to investigate. So again, to add that filter, this time I can take collection type from the left. And here I'll just drag that up into the filter bar. And I'll select down to Major League Baseball teams. Okay, so now that I've done that, we've really kind of started from the top, looking at all phone cases, looking at all types of products, all types of colors and designs, and drilled down to one high potential area for further investigation, this specialty category of Major League Baseball branded phones. But where can I go from here? Maybe I'm not a baseball expert. I didn't really follow the season too much last year, but I'm sure that there's elements of how the teams performed last year that impacted their sales and could impact future sales as this new baseball season begins. So I don't have the data that's required for me to perform that analysis in the system right now, but I do have an Excel file that I pulled off the web that actually shows me the different baseball teams and shows me what bucket of rank they finished in, who came in first, who came in second, who came in lower places, whether or not they made the playoffs, and another very interesting attribute, how large the fan base is, how many people attend their home games. So that's a nice indicator of the size of their fan base. So I want to now take this data and bring it into Visual Analyzer. To do that, it's quite easy. All I need to do is go to my data source panel, which shows me what data is already brought in. And here I can see again the sales subject areas in the system. But let's augment that with this additional data. So to do that, what I'll do is actually add a data source, and this time I'll upload a file. So let me now go and browse to that file. Here we have it, the MLB 2014 summary ranking. This now gets uploaded into BI Cloud Service, and we automatically profile this information to determine things like what are the data types, what's the relationship to the existing data. And this is where I can also link it explicitly to my existing IT data. So to do that, I'll just say that this team field here matches with what I'm looking at on the chart, which is that collection design field. And I can just go browse into the data model, choose collection design, click OK. And now we'll persist this information. We'll register this new data model with Visual Analyzer, and we'll automatically go and connect it back to the rest of the data. Here we can see a graphic showing me that the link was indeed successful. And now if I go back and look at the left-hand side, again, we can see the original data now augmented with this additional data coming from Excel. So what can I do with this? I think one of the first things I'll look at is the team's performance. And again, because I've now narrowed down to just MLB, collection type is not as interesting. Let me go and put postseason success on top of that attribute. This has now, again, mashed up these two data sets. I can now see On the outer edge of my trellis, these are the teams that did not make the playoffs. But as I continue to scroll down, I can actually see teams now categorized by this Excel data for who made the playoffs, who made the World Series. Next thing that might be of interest in terms of patterns is this home attendance rank. And, again, I can see different splits by gender on the screen now, not necessarily an interesting pattern jumping out, but maybe if I overlay color with the attendance rank, that might show something interesting. And as we now perform this mashup calculation, I can actually indeed see some interesting patterns coming out. So if we look at the color scale here, those that are in blue have the top 5 fan bases in terms of who goes to the baseball games. Those in red have 5 to 10, those in green 11 to 20, those in yellow really the bottom of the pack in terms of fan base, people that go to the games, they have they're in the 20 to 30 rank. And if I just start scanning through the charts and visualizations I have, I can see those patterns do make sense. For teams that didn't make the playoffs, lots of yellow, people in low fan bases, lots of green. But as we get into the playoff area, I start seeing a lot more blues, even a few reds. So, this is definitely a pattern that seems real, right? The larger bars here tend to be coming from teams that have the biggest fan base, so they generate the most revenue for me, teams that are in the playoff driving additional excitement. So this is definitely something that looks promising. One thing I do notice in particular, though, is the Royals are jumping out. They were one of the real success stories in baseball last year, one of the underdog stories. Very frantic race to the end of the World Series, losing out to the Giants. So we can see that their fan base is small, but they still have some significant revenue coming in, and they made it to the World Series. So this really gives me an idea that this is a fan base that's growing, that's going to have more excitement this year, and might be a good place for me to focus some marketing campaign and discounting strategies. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll just look at these two teams that were in the World Series. That really does kind of focus my attention. So again, I'll drag from the left-hand side, filter down to just World Series teams. So, we're making some good progress here. We've looked at a few different patterns, are focusing in on a couple good possibilities. Now I can minimize this chart again. I can start looking at some of the other patterns on the screen. Maybe I'll augment my time chart to also look at these two teams here, the Giants and the Royals. So I'll go and take collection design, and we'll put that over color. And some nice patterns really jumping out here. I can see decent sales on and off the season coming from the Giants. But again, as the Royals kind of make their way through the season, a big spike during the playoffs, a big spike during the championship games, dropping down a bit, but then starting to climb back up again. So again, the timing might be right for me to initiate this campaign at the start of the season. Just one last thing I'll look at briefly is geography. We haven't really analyzed that yet. It's something that could indeed lead to some interesting patterns, in terms of what geographies we want to focus these campaigns on. So we'll take geography, look at country, look at that by sales revenue. Again, we'll drag that over onto the screen. And now with this calculation, it's pretty clear. A few baseball countries like Japan are buying some of these cases, but a bulk of the sales is really coming from the U.S. So let me go and drill into the U.S. and drop down to look at different states. So again, some patterns popping out. California, lots of baseball teams, different baseball teams in California, including the Giants, who again were the pennant winner. So some patterns are coming across, but really the way people want to look at geographic information is by a map. So I can change these visualizations quite easily. We've got sophisticated things like scatter charts, area charts, lots of different radar charts, but a map in this case is what I would like to look at. So as we switch over to the map component, we can see that it has a bit of a different configuration. We offer a few different ways to look at these patterns on a map. I'll just show a simple example of coloring the map by a state. and by revenue. And again, we can see those same patterns we saw on the chart, but this time coming out a bit more visually. So lots of sales in California. We can see some interesting things maybe in Kansas area. Let's actually now break this down by team. So if I go and again take this collection design field, which represents team, and bring that onto my trellis rows, and now we'll duplicate this map across those two teams. And again, we can definitely see the patterns and impact of these fan bases and of these teams' success. For the Giants, lots of phone case sales from the iPhone 5 going on in the West Coast region. And for the Royals, again, we can see a big area of concentrated sales in the center of the country. So, in conclusion, I started this process with no distinct idea in mind. The system really guided me to the right visualization, but also offered enough richness to show me things like these trellising patterns, different ways of visualizing the data, and as well as all of these brushing examples that illustrate the connections between my visualizations. So hopefully this gives you a good sense of what Visual Analyzer can offer, how BI Cloud Service can give you that next level of business agility, and thanks for your time.